Here's a bold statement: the UK economy is poised to outpace France, Germany, and Italy next year, but there's a catch, and it's a big one. The OECD has warned Rachel Reeves that her strategy of higher taxes and tighter spending could stifle consumer spending, potentially undermining the very growth she's aiming for. But here's where it gets controversial. Is this the right approach to balance the books, or could it backfire by squeezing households too hard? Let's dive in. The Organisation for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, has flagged that the UK government's ongoing fiscal consolidation, a fancy term for higher taxes and reduced public spending, will act as a significant headwind to economic growth. In simpler terms, while these measures might help reduce debt, they'll also leave less money in people's pockets, slowing down how much they can spend. And this is the part most people miss. Even though the UK's growth forecast has been upgraded to 1.2% for next year, up from a previous 1% estimate, this still marks a slowdown from the 1.4% growth expected this year. Chancellor Rachel Reeves, who has been vocal about her commitment to growing the UK economy, recently announced £26 billion in tax hikes as part of her budget. Among the measures is a freeze on income tax thresholds, which will push 1.7 million people into higher tax brackets, according to the Office for Budget Responsibility, OBR. This move will take the tax burden to an all-time high, raising questions about its long-term impact on consumer confidence and spending power. But it's not just the UK facing these challenges. The OECD predicts that the US economy will grow by 1.7% next year, down from 2% this year and a robust 2.4% in 2024. This slowdown is seen as a setback for Donald Trump's policies, which aimed to boost growth by restricting imports and easing regulations on big industries. The report highlights that while there was a temporary surge in activity this year as economies adjusted to Trump's tariffs, many industrialized nations are now returning to lower, stagnant growth rates. On a brighter note, the UK is expected to see interest rates fall as inflation gradually returns to the 2% target by mid-2027. The OECD predicts 2 more rate cuts, from 4% now to 3.5% by the second quarter of 2026, though this will likely mark the end of the rate-cutting cycle. Reeves welcomed this news, stating, "Last week, my budget cut waiting lists, cut borrowing and debt, and cut the cost of living." Less than a week later, the OECD has upgraded our growth and cut its forecast for inflation next year. However, the economic landscape isn't without its dramas. The UK's economic establishment was shaken by the resignation of Richard Hughes, the chair of the OBR, following a leaked report that accused the OBR's leadership of mishandling sensitive budget information. Hughes was also embroiled in a dispute with Reeves over whether she misled the public about the state of public finances based on private OBR briefings. This incident raises questions about transparency and trust in economic policymaking. Globally, the picture is mixed. Matthias Cormann, the OECD Secretary-General, described the return of low growth as a sign of resilience amid trade uncertainties. Yet, he expressed concern about low productivity levels across the OECD's 38 member countries, which include diverse economies like Vietnam, Mexico, Canada, and Costa Rica. The OECD report notes that while the global economy has held up this year, thanks to strong AI-related investment and supportive policies, trade growth has moderated, and higher tariffs are expected to push prices up, dampening household consumption and business investment. Looking ahead, the OECD aligns with other international forecasters in predicting a gradual slowdown in global economic growth from 3.3% in 2024 to 2.9% in 2026, with a slight rebound to 3.1% in 2027. This mirrors the International Monetary Fund's (IMF) projections, which also foresee a deceleration in growth over the next few years. Here's the controversial question: are higher taxes and tighter spending the right medicine for economic stability, or could they end up stifling growth and hurting ordinary people? Cormann subtly critiques Trump's approach by emphasizing the need for constructive dialogue between countries to resolve trade tensions and improve the economic outlook. But what about Reeves' strategy? Is it a necessary evil, or is there a better way to balance the books without squeezing households dry? Let us know what you think in the comments. This is a debate worth having.